Okay. Hello, good evening, everyone.
Yes.
Good evening,
Ji,
Shikha.
namaste ji, namaste.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Why I can't hear in this? My speaker said. Okay, okay. Yeah. Mapataji, you can hear me?
Yes.
Okay, okay.
Clear.
Okay. Okay, good evening, everyone, and welcome to this Adyar Day meeting organized by the Indian section. And before starting the meeting, let us all invoke the universal prayer. O hidden life, vibrant in every atom, O hidden light, shining in every creature, O hidden love, embracing all in oneness, may all who feel themselves as one with Thee know they are therefore one with every other. Evening and welcome once again, everyone, for today's meeting. And today, as you know, we have 4 speakers, but I would rather say 3 speakers, and I'll be sharing some of the things about the Adyar Day in between the speakers, or something in the beginning or at the end. So considering that myself to be the moderator and also partly the speaker. So as you know that today, 17th February, is one of the red letter days that is being celebrated in the theosophical circles worldwide. And when Colonel Olcott passed away in 1907, some of the members gathered around the place where his cremation took place, offered flowers and said the words of reverence. And from that day, it came to be known as Olcott Day. But today, when we celebrate 17th February, we celebrate it as Adyar Day. So how come Olcott Day came to be known as Adyar Day? And according to the quotes and the statements in the magazine, The Theosophical Messenger, in 1928, the process began with one Mr. Fritz Kunz, who was the husband of past president of Theosophical Society in America, Dora Kunz. And when he returned to the United States, after an extended stay in India, he realized that there were very few appeals before us in this country, and Adyar is the mother of us all, and her claims come first. So he conceived of the Adyar Fund in 1922 and formed the Adyar Committee to raise funds for Adyar and to help with the construction of the buildings. And the first unofficial Adyar Day was celebrated on 17th February 1923. And later on the suggestion of one of the members from France, Madame de Monziarly, who was also living and working in Adyar, the suggestion came from her to make 17th February as Adyar Day. So then, from then onwards, the celebrations happened also in the headquarters hall. And on 17th February, it came to be known as Adyar Day. And not just 17th February was chosen because it was Colonel Olcott's day of passing, but also because it was on this day, 17th February, that Giordano Bruno, the student of Theosophy, a student of Pythagoras, was burned at stake in 1600, in the year 1600. And also C.W. Leadbeater was born on this day. And later on, we find in the divine coincidences that the name of J. Krishnamurti was also indelibly linked with the Theosophical Society Adyar, where he was found by C.W. Leadbeater when he passed away on 17th February 1986. And that's why, in memory of all these, Adyar Day is celebrated on 17th of February. And today we have among us esteemed speakers who are going to share with us for Adyar Day related to this theme. And first of all, I would like to invite Dr. Divyarth Dubey. Dr. Divyarth Dubey, and although most of us know him, he's working very actively in MP and Rajasthan Federation, the office bearer of the president of the secretary of the Theosophical Society and MP Rajasthan Federation. He has the degree of PhD in philosophy. He has done his MBA, MCom, and in the professional aspect, the qualification of over 20 years of experience in different multinational companies, and currently working as the service head Rajasthan in Reliance Jio Infocom Limited. He is the secretary of Theosophical Society Gwalior Lodge. He is the secretary of MP and Rajasthan Federation of Theosophical Society. And he is also the member of Indian Council, also the permanent invitee of Executive Committee of the Indian section. So I invite Divyarth Dubey for his talk to enlighten us on today's theme.
Thank you very much, Shikharji. Just wanted to know, I am audible?
Yes.
Yes, you are audible. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Shikharji. Respected brothers and sisters, Sadar Namaskar. Before starting my talk, I would like to thank Pradeep Mahapatra sir for giving me this opportunity, and I'm privileged to be here today and discuss or talk about a great person, Colonel H.S. Olcott. So thank you very much once again, Pradeep ji. Secondly, I would also like to request that please forgive me if I of Colonel H.S. Olcott life, as I or anyone start speaking on Olcott life, it will take days to complete, and I have only 15 minutes. So I again request you all to please forgive me. Colonel Henry Olcott was an American military officer. He was a journalist, lawyer, and the co-founder and first president of Theosophical Society. Colonel Olcott was born on 2nd August 1832. He was the oldest son of a businessman, Henry Wyckoff Olcott and Emily Steele Olcott. But at the age of 15, Colonel Olcott entered the New York University. But unfortunately, he had to leave that after an year only, when his father could not afford the tuition fee. Then he took up share farming a 500-acre plot near Alicia, Ohio, in the vicinity of his maternal uncle, who, the important thing is that his uncle fortunately introduced him to spiritualism also. So that is also a turning point of his life. In 1860, Olcott married Mary Epley Morgan. She was a daughter of a rector of Trinity Parish in New York. They had 4 children, but unfortunately, 2 of them died in infancy. Colonel Olcott served in the US Army during the American Civil War, and afterward, he was admitted as the Special Commissioner of the War Department in New York. He was later promoted to the rank of colonel and transferred to the Department of Navy in Washington, D.C. He was well respected, and in 1865, following the assassination of Abraham Lincoln, assisted in the investigation of the assassination. In 1868, he became a lawyer specializing in insurance, revenue, and fraud. Annie Besant was to write later that the experience and qualities Colonel Olcott acquired in these secular activities prepared him for the work he has to do later to inspire numerous people to support the ideal of universal brotherhood without any race, religion, caste, etc., and the work of the Theosophical Society. So that was a very small introduction of his starting of the life. Now, in 1874, Olcott wrote an article for the New York Sun in which he investigated eddy farms. His article was so popular enough that other papers such as the New York Daily Graphic republished it. His 1874 publication, People from the Other World, began with his early articles concerning the spiritualist movement. I again repeat, the publication name was People from the Other World in 1874. And at that time, this was whom Madame Blavatsky was sent by her master to the United States to find the man chosen by them to find with her. The Theosophical Society, to which he gave its democratic constitution with full freedom of thought, which does not exist in other spiritual organizations. The remainder of his life was spent in organizing it all over the world. Colonel Olcott met Madame Blavatsky at the Eddy farm, where he had been sent by the New York Sun and the New York Graphic to report on the extraordinary spiritualistic manifestations which were taking place there. He had resigned from the War Department, had been admitted to the bar, and was earning a large income as counsel in customs and revenue cases when the call came. He abandoned his practice and the following year co-founded the Theosophical Society, of which he was appointed president for life. His inaugural address was delivered on 17th November 1875 in New York. At that time, Madame Blavatsky served as the society's secretary. In December 1878, they left New York in order to move the headquarters of the Theosophical Society to India. They arrived at Bombay on February 16, 1879. The headquarters of the society were established at Adyar, Chennai, as the Theosophical Society Adyar. Starting also there in the society, they started the Adyar Library and Research Center within the headquarters. Colonel Olcott inspired the first exhibition of Indian manufactured products, urging Indians to use their own goods in preference to foreign ones. At the first convention of the Theosophical Society in India, the Swadeshi movement was first proclaimed, as at a later convention of the Indian National Congress was formed. The vigorous propaganda now carried on all over India, and it was much hindered by the then government hostility, but welcomed by the masses of Hindus and Parsis. The prestige which Colonel Olcott enjoyed in the USA was a great help in launching theosophical work in India. For the authorities, they were suspicious of good intentions of the theosophists when they landed at Bombay in 1879. They were at first subjected to police surveillance, but on Colonel Olcott's producing copies of his recommendations from US President Haynes and the Secretary of State, the annoyance ceased. A year later, he discovered a gift for natural healing and began to travel all over India, alleviating and curing people of their afflictions. Later, he gave up healing and concentrated on propagating the divine wisdom. He stands today a role model for every aspiring theosophist. Combining philosophy and organizational development, he carved away a royal root on working system of benefit of humanity. His work for social reform was sequel to his commitment to the glorious ideal made into a reality of brotherhood of humanity. Colonel Olcott was a major revivalist of Buddhism in Sri Lanka, and he is still honored in Sri Lanka for these efforts. Colonel Olcott has been called by Sri Lankans one of the heroes in the struggle of their independence and a pioneer of the present religious, national, and cultural revival. During his time in Sri Lanka, Colonel Olcott strove to revive Buddhism within the region while compiling the tenets of Buddhism for the education of Westerners. It was during this period that he wrote the Buddhism Catechism in 1881, which is still used today in Sri Lanka. Two major streets in Colombo and Gale have been named on Colonel Olcott Mawatha to commemorate him. A statue of him has been erected in the front of Colombo Front Railway Station. Many other schools that he helped found or have been founded in his memory possesses commemorative statues in honor of his contribution to Buddhist education. And he is still remembered fondly by many Sri Lankans today. On September 10, 2011, a statue of Colonel Olcott was unveiled at the Buddhist temple near New Jersey. Colonel Alcott's dynamism deeply affected the Asiatic mind when it was in danger of sinking into a state of passivity and conformity under a compelling authority that did not brook a spirit of research and inquiry. New energy was instilled into the Buddhist, Hindu, Zoroaster, and other people whom he contacted and addressed. The then British government's allegation that the founders of the Theosophical Society were spies, it was a reaction to the enormous success they had as a team. In 1882, the founders bought a beautiful estate in Adyar near Madras. Now it is called as Chennai, where they have established the headquarters of the Theosophical Society. I have mentioned it earlier also. The work done from 1875 to 1906 may be the best judged by the fact that up to the year 1906, the president had issued 893 charters to the branches of the Theosophical Society worldwide. I repeat, it was 893 charters that has been given to the branches of the Theosophical Society worldwide. He now traveled all over the world engaging in ceaseless and strenuous activity, encouraging, advising, organizing, and ever joyously returning to his beloved Adyar to rest and recuperate. Many difficulties had confronted this lion-hearted man, but through good report and evil report, he worked unwearyingly. He endured his last prolonged sufferings in the form of physical illness bravely and patiently, facing death as steadfastly as he had faced life, and cheered in the last weeks of his life by the visits of the great Indian sages, to whom he had given the strength of his manhood and devotion of his life. He passed away from the earth on 17 February 1907 and left behind him a splendid monument of noble work. Colonel Alcott also contributed much to Zoroastrianism and Hinduism, and his most valuable work, especially for the theosophical world, is Old Diary Leaves. I am sure everyone knows about it. Old Diary Leaves, without which little would have been known of his history of Theosophical Society. The rapid growth and spread of the society's influence in India was because of the extremely inspiring and enlightening spirit that he brought into play. There was practically no place he did not visit, no public figure he had not met in his untiring journeys to every nook and corner of the country. He enveloped India with the theosophical fragrance, singing the past glory of the land and religions here. He promised a greater hope in its further splendor and wide expansion. He enthusiased the educated Indians to well realize the situation and work zealously for India's future. I think I have 2 more minutes, 2 or 3 more minutes.
Yes.
Yeah. So Colonel Alcott was a jovial, kind, and a friendly person. C.W. Leadbeater and A.J. Cooper Oakley, they were young workers in 1885 at the headquarters, Adyar. Despite the heavy load of work, that Alcott had always found time for those young men, encouraging them in their tasks. Alcott had his own special way of collecting donations. After the annual Theosophical Convention at Adyar, which was free of delegates on those days. He would create hilarious enthusiasm by the way in which he called upon people to donate what they could. After he started the Alcott Memorial School, there were some boys who learned enough to become teachers in their turn. And the president of Theosophical Society, Colonel Alcott, sometimes entertained them by floating on the Adyar River with a cigar in his mouth and a newspaper in his hands. We can do no better on the occasions of centennial of Alcott's departure for the higher worlds than to sacrifice personal aims and ambitions and make universal brotherhood a living reality, and also open the way for genuine spiritual teachings to take root in the hearts of men and women in every part of the earth. Colonel Alcott was the president of Theosophical Society until his death. And to mention worthy it is his last words: "To my beloved brothers in the physical body, I bid you all farewell. In memory of me, carry on the grand work of proclaiming and living the brotherhood of religions. To my beloved brothers on the higher planes, I greet and come to you and implore you to help me to impress all men on earth that there is no religion higher than truth, and that in the brotherhood of religions lie in the peace and progress of humanity." Colonel Henry Alcott has passed to peace on 17 February 1907 at Adyar. Thank you very much, brothers and sisters, for listening me so patiently. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Divyarthi, for such a moving and inspiring deliberation about an equally inspiring personality that we have had in the form of Colonel Alcott. Really, you said right that in 15 minutes, nothing much can be said. I mean, his life is spread in all old diary leaves and much beyond that. But the parts that you have taken to share with all of us were really very inspiring. And just to add to those things, if you may permit, before I invite our next speaker, since you mentioned so much about Alcott School and donation, I would like to share something with all the our delegates right now. This is the Alcott Memorial, where his body was cremated in Adyar. And today, as you can see, it is all decorated by the people. And what happened here will make you equally more interested, and it will invite your higher aspirations. Is this what you're going to see now? Right. I just because every year there is this tradition that the children from Alcott School come and they walk through to the school in front of the headquarters and go to the Alcott Memorial, and in front of the headquarters hall they sing a song. So just a very small video of that. also we saw with how much devotion and reverence the Olcott School students were carrying the portraits of Colonel Olcott leading to the Olcott Memorial. And really, it is very appropriate, as Dr. Divyarth just shared with us about Colonel Olcott's life. So, and thank you, Dr. Divyarth, for that wonderful presentation. And now, moving on to our next speaker, Dr. Rachna Srivastavji, I request you to switch on your video. Yeah. Thank you. Namaste. Good evening, Rachnaji. And I think many of the TS members and people who have visited the Indian section headquarters at Varanasi may be knowing Dr. Rachna Srivastavji, but still just to give an introduction, formal introduction to those who may not be knowing her, is that Dr. Rachna Srivastav is Professor of Political Science and Principal at Vasant Kanya Mahavidyalaya, usually called VKM, a PG college affiliated to Banaras Hindu University. Professor Rachna Srivastav did her MA from Lucknow University with the first division and did her PhD from Mahatma Gandhi Kashi Vidyapeeth, Varanasi. She joined VKM in 1988 as lecturer in political science and became the 12th principal of VKM in 2016. Under her able guidance, VKM was accredited A category by NAAC in 2017. And Dr. Srivastav has 3 books published, one of which on Namibia's decolonization was digitized in September 2010. It has been published as an ebook too and has been widely accessed and downloaded. It has a 4-star rating. And apart from that, she has edited 2 books and has contributed chapters to 7 books and articles to a number of journals like Mainstream. She has contributed articles to newspapers like Hindustan Times on topics like girl-child's right to education and voting behavior in India. She has prepared study materials for correspondence course for Higher Education and Research Institute, South India Hindi Prachar Sabha, Chennai and UP Rajarshi Tandon Open University, Allahabad. She has delivered about 20 radio talks. She has also contributed e-content for the benefit of the students. She has organized a number of national seminars sponsored by UGC, IC, SSR, and NAAC. She successfully completed 2 research projects, one on Nepal and India, which was financed by UGC, and another on Kautilya Arthashastra sponsored by ICSSR. She has participated and presented papers in 75 national and international seminars. Professor Rachna Srivastav is in the selection board of Purvanchal University and Madhyamik Shiksha Seva Chain Board. She's an active member of a number of organizations like Indian Political Science Association, IDSA, Theosophical Society, SARC, an NGO working against child sexual abuse. She was felicitated by Maitri Bhavan Varanasi in 2014, Arya Mahila PG College in 2016, Rotary Club Uday, Akhil Bharatiya Shaikshik Mahasangh, Shikshak Prakosht Kashi Kshetra BJP in 2022 for her valuable contribution in the field of education. She is dedicated to the progression of the students with focus on their holistic development. Besides introduction to new academic courses, she has specifically focused on skill development in students and has started courses on sampling, tailoring, sewing machine operator under UPSTM, fashion designing, spoken English, certificate courses in yoga, aerobics training, value-added course on theosophy, to mention a few. And I must say that whoever has heard her before speaking during the convention must know how swiftly and how smoothly, in a simple manner, she expresses her thoughts. So today I invite Dr. Rachna Srivastav to share her thoughts on J. Krishnamurti and his life on Adyar. Dr. Rachna.
Thank you, Shikharji. Good evening to all of you, all brothers and sisters who have joined on this day when we have gathered here to remember three great personalities who have contributed much to theosophy: Colonel Olcott, C.W. Leadbeater, and of course, J. Krishnamurti. I would like to thank Pradeep Mahapatra ji also, because he gave me an opportunity to read about J. Krishnamurti. I had been putting this off for a very long time because as I am associated with the Theosophical Society and VKM since 1988, my focus was more on theosophy and what Annie Besant had said, or how Annie Besant had contributed to national movement or education of girls. And I just kept putting off for later studies J. Krishnamurti. But this gave me an opportunity. And Krishnamurti ji and theosophy, how they are related to each other. In fact, we all know that Krishnamurti ji is fondly called Krishna ji, and Dr. Annie Besant had adopted J. Krishnamurti and his brother Nityanand ji when they were children, and she and C.W. Leadbeater looked after these two children, and Krishna ji was reared to become the next world teacher. And an order of the Rising Star of the East was also established for that very purpose. But then we also usually we believe that Krishna ji parted ways with Dr. Annie Besant. At VKM also, we usually say that college was established in 1913, but then J. Krishnamurti took the college away, and it was established at Rajghat with Krishnamurti Foundation. And Rohit Mehta ji established the present VKM here with Theosophical Society Foundation. The college is run by Theosophical Society Indian section. So the usual assumption is this, and it is thought that although Krishna ji was educated to become world teacher, but then by 1929, he rebelled and he parted ways because he had his own beliefs, and he thought that truth is pathless. He talked of free mind, unconditioned mind. When there are no preconceived notions, only then we can see the truth. We can achieve the goals which have actually been established, which have been given by, which have been identified by Theosophical Society, which have been identified by Madame Blavatsky or Dr. Annie Besant. So when I was reading about J. Krishnamurti ji, I realized that what he said, what he communicated to the humankind, throughout his life was not much different to what HPB and Dr. Annie Besant had believed in. And if we look at it from another perspective, then we can see that Krishna ji actually did what he was touted to be, what he was supposed to be doing, what Dr. Annie Besant wanted him to do. He became a word teacher. He became a free mind because he was given that kind of education by Dr. Annie Besant. You must have read, you must have heard that once when Krishna ji was speaking about Dr. Besant after her death, he said that Dr. Besant never told him to do this or don't do that. That means that a freedom to evolve was given to him. And if that freedom was there, Krishnaji used that freedom. Krishnaji made use of that freedom to evolve as an individual, to have an individual voice, to have an independent voice, have an independent mind, which is unconditioned, which is free of all preconceived notions. So in my presentation, my address, I would like to focus on these two aspects as to what are the objectives of Theosophy as identified by Dr. Bissett and HPB regarding truth, universal brotherhood, about the welfare of the humankind, about freedom of mind, and also about not dogmatizing Theosophy. And then side by side, I would like to tell you that how Krishnaji walked the same path. So if anybody says that he parted ways from Theosophy, although he was not a member of Theosophical Society, yet we see that what he did throughout his life was not much different to what Annie Besant or what HPB wanted him to do. So Dr. Besant and Krishnaji, if I am permitted to call him that, because after reading about him, after going through so many books, there was one book by Professor P. Krishna also, and in it he has mentioned that Krishnaji was quite humorous also, and when he was like not giving some lecture or talk, or somebody had not come to seek some advice from him, then he would tell jokes also. And they were pretty nice political jokes. And when I was reading them, I could see another part of another aspect of his personality. And he became, in fact, closer to me, because these were all political jokes. That was around 70, 75. And these jokes were about India and Russia relations, or communist governments and all. So Krishnaji and Dr. Annie Besant were two great seekers of truth. We all agree on that. They were both inspired and influenced by theosophical ideals, which states that truth is the highest religion. And their life was so dedicated to the quest for truth. And for that, they were prepared to sacrifice anything and everything. Don't you see that? Dr. Annie Besant, even before she joined the Theosophical Society, she stood for truth. And for that, she sacrificed her family. She had to go through a lot because of standing for truth. The same we can say about Krishnaji, that when he stood for truth, he was condemned also, if I can say so, at that time, because I was reading Professor P. Krishna's book on Krishnaji, and there were conversation between Radhaji and P. Krishnaji, and I could see that at that time, many theosophists were there who were very much against Krishnamurtiji, because he had parted ways, because he had dismantled the order, because he had declared that he was not to become the word teacher. So this standing for truth was there both in Dr. Annie Besant and Krishnamurtiji. So this quality we can see in both of them. Then Theosophical Society was created with the motto that truth is the highest religion. And since Theosophy in its true meaning is not a new religion, but what it is the essence of all religions. It is wisdom religion. This demands that we come in contact with eternal truth, which is beyond all religions, which is beyond all forms. Now, if that is the essence of Theosophy, is that not what Krishnamurtiji is asking us to do all the time? He is saying, you must understand yourself. break through your conditioning. Only then you will have a true perception, without which you cannot come upon the truth. So there isn't any division between what Theosophy in its essence is asking us to do and what Krishnaji is advocating as necessary for us to do. In fact, preconceived notions about truth prevent one from being free in mind. And if we are not free in mind, then our outlook towards life would not be fulfilling. We need to be completely free to listen to somebody. If we have already some preconceived notions, then we do not listen to the person. We listen to what we want to hear. If we have preconceived notions, then illusions arise and beliefs become very strong. And then it becomes difficult for us to get the truth, to see the truth, and to fulfill our life. Many people also think that Krishnamurti ji denied the existence of the masters, and this had created a rift between him and Dr. Eddie Besant, and this also led her to feel disappointed in him. But whatever I read, I could see that this is a misunderstanding. What Krishna ji objected to is the belief of convenience, of dependence on any outside agency for help. Because he believed that we must start the journey inside. So seeking help from outside, he was against that. We must also remember that Krishnaji did not deny God. He denied all the concepts that people accept about God. He did not deny the sacred. He denied what people consider to be sacred. There is a difference. What is sacred and what people consider to be sacred. He did not deny love, but he denied all the usual concepts about love. He did not deny religious mind. He denied all concepts and beliefs about what is religious. To him, something imagined and fashioned by thought has little value, because what it did, it blocked inquiry and therefore the perception of the deeper truth. He posited the truth as the unknown and advocated an approach to it through the denial of the false. Dr. Annie Besant was also not of much different view. She also believed and said that the Theosophical Society is intended to be a living body and not a fossil. And a living body grows and develops. It adapts itself to new conditions. If it doesn't do that, it decays. One can see the seeds of Krishnaji's later teachings to the humankind in the above statement of Dr. A.D. Besant, when he said that Theosophical Society is intended to be a living body and not a fossil. Of course, Krishnaji did not accept these statements from her or from anyone else without rediscovering the truth, without experiencing the truth for himself. His whole teaching emphasizes the distinction between the knowledge of the truth and the actual perception of it. Dr. Annie Besant and C.W. Leadbeater wanted him to function as a word teacher, giving a new interpretation to religion for the age of reason. And this is precisely what he did all through his life. We all know that TS was founded with three main objects, and one of which was universal brotherhood. And one of the other objects was investigation of powers, which is latent in human beings, or the creation of scientific temper, promotion of scientific temper in human beings. Frequently, these latent powers are considered or interpreted as psychic in nature. Krishnaji, though endowed with these powers, rejected the desire to place any focus on them because he saw them as yet another binding personal distraction from a genuine understanding of truth. He gave two very important words, phrases we can say, choiceless awareness and paying full attention. Choiceless awareness. If we do not have any preconceived notion, only then we can be truly awakened. And then paying full attention. I really appreciate this phrase, because with this simple act of paying full attention and being perceptive, what Krishnaji is making us to do, he is making us reflect on the very exclusive properties of these actions, which can cause human beings to seriously transform themselves and attain freedom. In fact, the act of listening with full attention has a very positive role. It erases bad memories, bad habits, and all the accumulated traditions. When we listen to someone, as we have already seen, that we listen to ourselves. But paying full attention, listening with full attention helps the elimination of conditioning. And Krishnaji also says that we must adopt a different way of life for ourselves, because the other is also ourself. This is the oneness of life or brotherhood, about which Theosophical Society also talks about. After 1925, we can see that a more individual note began to sound through Krishnaji's discourses, and soon after he had dissolved the Order of the Star, and he held that those who sought truth could not reach it through any organization, because organizations precondition you and then you do not get the right conception of truth. He spoke of reality as pathless, and this caused some discomfort, as we have already talked about. In 1929, he moved away from theosophy and dismantled the idea of becoming word teacher, because he had his own view of religion, which was not bound by any community or conservatism. His idea of education was to break humanity from all restrictions. The restrictions which divide humanity in the name of caste, community, and nationality, etc. This is the central core around which Krishnaji's lifetime of teaching revolves. It was a movement from unreal to real. He focused on unconditional freedom. So, if we look into that, we read Krishnaji through P. Krishna, then what we can see that Krishnaji rebelled against incrustation, against treating theosophy not as an inquiry, but as some new form of belief. And if we further see, because I can see that Shikharji has switched on his video, that is giving me a signal, but you had taken a lot of my time. So give me 5 more minutes and I will conclude. So when we see what HPB had said, Madam Blavatsky had said, she made it clear that the purpose of society was to bring back especially to the Western world, the possibility of a spiritual life. Or she was talking about the humanity. She was talking about the service of humanity through Theosophical Society. And this is what J. Krishnamurti was also talking about when he says that uh, we are nobody should be like teacher and should be imposing some dogmas, some authority on other people. Oneself is teacher and pupil. And this is why we see that he perhaps refused to become a word teacher. So when we look at Krishnaji, we see that he never claimed authority in his spiritual matters. In fact, he said that I'm not establishing authority of myself, and all authority is evil. And so let me conclude. Krishnaji's entire life was dedicated to point out where we were and how it is creating the world in which we live. Krishnaji talked about a change that needs to take place in us. He is not concerned with changing the world by working externally. And we can see his influence on the members of Theosophical Society also, at least partly. And although he was not a member of the TS, he changed the focus of attention for many members of TS from received authority to individual experience, something which Dr. Besant had herself repeatedly attempted to do, as had Colonel Olcott before her, but which Krishnaji succeeded to do with a new force. So I don't see much deviation in Krishnaji's thoughts from Theosophy. Maybe I had started my study with this preconceived notion that he took inspiration from Theosophy, and then he found his own way to communicate these messages which were identified by HPB and Dr. Eddie Besant to the world. This is what Theosophy is, letting everyone think for oneself, giving the freedom to make choices, choiceless awareness. So with these words, I end my talk, because in 15 minutes, one cannot talk about these serious subjects. There are so many things to say. Yet, thanks Shikharji, and thanks to everyone for listening to me, and very patiently. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Rachnaji, for such a well researched and well contemplated talk. And really, you have reflected upon the Krishnamurti's teachings and the comparative study of Theosophy. And one thing really, what you said, that he never denied the existence of masters, but I think some of the people who read or hear his talks get that idea. But there are places where he has, in a way, you mean not accepted directly, but the thing is, when you accept that, then people go in hero worshipping and other things. So he wanted people to change, not to worship someone outside, as you said, some external help. And it is in this regard only there was one statement for Adyar Day that in a way proves that. He said in his notes in 1924, which was published later, that Adyar Day exists to remind the members of the glorious place and to urge them to do their best to make Adyar a worthy and dignified shrine for the masters. So, I mean, in a way, this itself says everything, nothing to expand on that. But thank you, Dr. Rachnaji, for such a wonderful presentation to share with us. Thank you. And now I would request Dr. Chandraprabha Bhuyanji to switch on her camera. Yes. good evening and namaste.
Namaste.
And welcome to this session. And those who do not know Professor Chandraprabhaji, Dr. Chandraprabha Bhuyanji is MA in philosophy from Guwahati University and PhD from Manipur University. She joined as postgraduate teacher and served as the principal in Sipajhar College for some years. Then she was deputed to Mahila Samakhya program as a state program director of Assam and retired in 2007. She joined the Theosophical Society in 2008 in Panjabari Lodge and became a life member from Assam Theosophical Federation. She served the federation as the secretary for 3 years and became the vice president till now. She is a general body member of the Vasant Kanya Mahavidyalaya, Kamacha, Varanasi, and executive committee and council member of the Indian section. So without any further delay, I request Professor Chandraprabhaji to share her thoughts on CW Leadbeater and Theosophy.
Thank you, Shekharji. Respected brothers and sisters, today is Adyar Day. I go down to Adyar, the magnetic place, our spiritual home. I also like to pay my homage to 4 great souls: Henry Steele Olcott, Giordano Bruno, world famous philosopher Jiddu Krishnamurti, and C.W. Leadbeater. Also, Madame Blavatsky and all the founder members of Theosophical Society, as well as the masters who have shown us the real path of spirituality and seek their blessings.
Professor Chandraprabhaji,
Yes.
sorry to interrupt. Can you put your camera a little down so your face can come complete? Yes. Oh, perfect. Thank you. Thank you. Sorry to disturb.
No, it's okay. And so I'm going to speak about Leadbeater and Theosophy. Within 15 minutes, I'll end my talk. Leadbeater was born in Stockport, United Kingdom in the year 1847 in the month of February. There was a controversy regarding his date of birth. As per England's census report, his date of birth was 16 February 1847. But Leadbeater himself corrected his birthday as 17 February 1847. This date appears in the 1891 census report, in his passport and other records also. He lost his father when he was 15 years old, and he had to join a job when a bank collapse reduced his mother to poverty. He joined as a bank clerk at Williams, Deacons and Company until 1876 to support their household. On December 21, 1879, he was ordained as a priest in the Church of England. Despite his connection with church, he always kept an open mind for things that did not fall within Orthodox Christianity, such as psychic and spiritualistic phenomena. Whenever he heard of ghosts or haunted houses, he conducted his own investigations. He attended the lecture of Theosophy given by the Theosophist, especially by Dr. Amy Besant. Leadbeater read a book written by A.P. Sinnett in 1883 on occult world and was very much interested. He rushed to meet the author. After meeting him, he was so impressed that he joined the London Laws of Theosophical Society in the month of November in that very year. He was attracted to the ideal of masters and was eager to be a pupil of great adept masters. One day, one of his spiritual guides, Ernest, assured him that he could transmit a letter from Leadbeater to the masters. He was very much excited and wrote a letter to Master K.H. offering himself as Chela so that he can learn more of the truth. 6 months passed, he didn't get any reply. In the meantime, he met Madame Blavatsky in London Lodge in the month of April. He described the tremendous expression that Madame Blavatsky had on him in his book. On 30th October, Leadbeater traveled to London again to say goodbye to Madame Blavatsky, who was supposed to go to India. That evening, HPV informed him that Master had sent a reply to his letter. Leadbeater returned to his home next day and got the letter from Master K.H. It was said in the letter that a member should force the master to accept him as Chela by doing good works for humanity, working on self-purification, and making sacrifices for the theosophical cause. The master also warned him to atone collective karma of Christian clergy to whom he belonged. Finally, the master suggested him to go to Adyar to work for a few months. But at the end of the letter, the master asked him to choose and grasp his own destiny. He wrote, "May our Lord, the Tathagata's memory aid you to decide for the best." Leadbeater decided to follow the master's suggestion. He resigned from the post and set out to Adyar. In 1886, Leadbeater became a member of the small headquarters staff at Adyar, along with founder President H.S. Olcott and others. He was given the charge of acting editor of the Theos office. Due to financial crisis at the time, he had to work from Adyar to Madras for proof and other works of the journal. During that year, he was assigned to work in Ceylon. At the time, he received a letter of appreciation from Master K.H. He was appointed as the first principal of Anand College, founded by Henry Steele Olcott, there at Sri Lanka. He had to serve as the General Secretary of Theosophical Society in Ceylon and worked there for 2 years. In 1890, AP Senate asked him to return to London to take charge of the Secretary London Lodge. With the help of the master, he got the training to develop clairvoyance. As a highly developed clairvoyant, he unfolded and perfected his psychic faculties under the guidance of his master adept teacher. Master K.H. visited him and told about the mysterious power Kundalini, about which he knew very little. Then the master recommended him to make a few efforts along certain lines. He could understand master's hint and worked very steadily and started a particular kind of meditation which was, according to him, very hard work as well as painful. But after 40 days of painful work, he succeeded. Leadbeater attended the annual convention of Adyar in 1884 and accompanied Olcott to Burma to introduce theosophy there. When Olcott was called back to Adyar, Leadbeater took over the discussion and meetings and started 3 separate branches of Theosophical Society, there. Leadbeater had to do the lecturing alone. He became a very popular as a lecturer in Ceylon as well as in London too. Moreover, he continued his research work for the astral plane and developed new ideas of interest in employing his clairvoyant powers. Thus, from 1884, he made lecture tours to various countries of the world. He visited New York, Boston, Toronto, Chicago, Vancouver, San Francisco, Edinburgh, Midlands, Australia, Hawaii, Samosa, New Zealand, India, Burma, Sri Lanka, Italy, Egypt, France, London, and many other places, achieving success everywhere. He left for his last trip to India at the end of May 1932 and spoke the annual convention at Adyar on the theme A World in Distress. In 1934, before boarding a ship to Australia, he addressed meetings at Bombay and Juhu colony. He left this physical world on 1st March 1934 at Perth, Australia. Leadbeater saw a 13-year-old boy who was playing in the beach in 1909. He saw most wonderful aura in that boy he had ever seen without a particle of selfishness. He predicted that the boy, Sidhu Krishnamurti, would become a spiritual teacher and a great orator of the country. He nourished, educated, and trained Krishnamurti and his brother Nityananda. He could recognize the great potential of Krishnamurti and educated him for future work. He believed that Sidhu Krishnamurti was the reincarnation of the world teacher Messiah and drew him to the attention of Dr. Annie Besant. Annie Besant took J.K. and his brother under her wing and educated them properly. Leadbeater took Krishnamurti to master Kuthumi in the astral body. J.K. in his book At the Feet of the Master mentioned that the teaching in the book were given to him directly by his master in preparing him for initiation and appeal to follow what the master said. He wrote more than 30 books on the spiritual life and psychic nature of men, where he unveiled the hidden side of things and the life beyond it. The Hidden Side of Things is a classic work of clairvoyant investigation published by Theosophical Publishing House in 1913. This book may help the reader to understand the influence of thoughts and actions have on the way we relate to our inner self, to human and non-human beings, and to the universe. We will be able to regulate our thoughts and actions in such a way as to contribute to peace and harmony in the world. Another lively and encouraging book which should not be missed by the students of Theosophy, How Theosophy Came to Me, is an autobiographical sketch where he explained thrilling experience of how he came to contact with Madame Blavatsky and other leading theosophies in England. Vivid world pictures of Adyar were given, along with curious events occurred there. He also explained how he came into contact with the master, his struggle, lonely life, unrest, and unexpected developments. The curious events and phenomena occurred during the voyage to India with Madame Blavatsky are also related in this book. Other books like the Astral Plane, the Chakras, Clairvoyance, Dreams, Devarsanic Plane, the Power and Use of Thought, etc., and Thought Forms and Talks on the Path of Occultism with Dr. Annie Besant are very precious. He was a famous orator. His lectures presented a new viewpoint to thousands of people all over the world. The sole interest of his life was to work for the society. He has got a magnificent record of service rendered to mankind through his lectures on theosophy in different places of the world and his books on many aspects of the ancient wisdom. Last of all, with deepest respect and gratitude, I offer my profound homage to this great soul. Now I end my talk here. I'd like to thank Indian section, especially Mahapatraji and Sikorji for giving me this opportunity to talk with you words about lead beaters. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Chandraprabha Bhuyanji, for sharing with us the life and work of C.W. Leadbeater, whose books I think are so much read and accessed by so many theosophists, member of Theosophical Society all around the world, because he has expressed it in such a simple language and easy to understand, explaining each and everything, that his contribution for the propagation of theosophy is phenomenal. So thank you for sharing with us that wonderful personality. And now, coming to the end of our today's session, I have already shared my part of presentation in between, so I'm not going to share anything extra. But the one thing just I want to end with a quote from C. Jinraj Dasa, the fourth international president of the Theosophical Society, about Adyar, because Adyar Day was supposed to be the day where the attention and thought of gratitude from all over the world, the members of Theosophical Society, towards Adyar, for not only the place, but also to the people who have walked before us and who have made it possible for us to be able to come in touch with this philosophy that we call theosophy, and especially this place, which is a source of hope, encouragement, and positivity all around the world. So Mr. C. J. Rajdasa in 1934 said, since 1882, when the visible founders of the society made Adyar the home of the Theosophical Society, a great brooding thought has permeated Adyar from far. And this is the thought of those elder brothers who are the true founders of the society. Adyar is their cup through which a blessing is being poured upon the world, night and day. Thrice happy they whom karma gives the privilege of coming to Adyar, and blessed indeed among their generation if they receive from Adyar what Adyar has to offer them. And with these words, let us just for a few moments come together in heart and mind, and we meditate for a few moments by sharing all our attention and gratitude to this wonderful place and the individuals who made it possible for us to be a part of it, and pray to those higher energies to pour through their beneficent, compassionate, and wisdom influence, not only today, but day after day, every moment, for the welfare of the world, and bless us in our efforts to be a worthy channel to receive and share those influences of love, wisdom, compassion, and gratitude. And now on behalf of Indian section, I thank all the speakers of today, Dr. Divyarth Dubey, Dr. Rachna Srivastav, and Professor Dr. Chandraprabha Bhuyan for sharing with us the lives of the remarkable individuals on this Adyar Day organized by the Indian section. And I thank Pradeep Mahapatraji for giving this opportunity to me to be the moderator of this session. And for closing prayers, I would invite you all. Sarvesham swastir bhavatu, Sarvesham shantir bhavatu, Sarvesham purnam bhavatu, Sarvesham mangalam bhavatu, Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, Sarve santu niramayah, Sarve bhadrani pashyantu, Ma kaschid dukha bhag bhave. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you all for joining and wishing you all an enlightened